Get the new Counter Assault Tactics DVD package from 9 Live Solutions. Enter AMTV promo code for a $100 discount at checkout. The program is a complete personal safety and self-defense program in a box, consisting of 8 DVDs.
What would drive somebody
right now
to do such a thing? And maybe Robin Williams, as I pointed out in the video, was making a statement. Tuesday, August 12, 2014. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. We're doing an AMTV live hangout via Google, as Google is the monopoly for video, if you haven't been paying attention. Put out some very controversial videos earlier today. In fact, I got people's panties in a bunch over the truth about Robin Williams' suicide. And as was the point of the video, it's a lot more popular than anything I've ever done on the President of the United States, Barack Hussein, insane in the membrane, Obama. In fact, people care more about the truth about Robin Williams, a Hollywood actor that nobody knows outside of his immediate family and friends, than they do the president playing golf right now while innocent civilians are bombed in Iraq. The second war, ×2, that he's responsible for, having bypassed Congress. Again, at least George W. Bush went to Congress to seek approval before he actually bombed independent, sovereign nations, before he actually invaded. And of course, as a result of that, there was millions of civilians killed based on some international estimates. Absolutely incredible. In the meantime, the president plays golf. In fact, there was a great article via the Washington Post today showing a picture of the president following through on his swing while golfing at Farm Neck Golf Club, as golfing partner, former NFL player Ahmad Rashad Wright, sits in a cart. So while the president golfs in Martha's Vineyard and spends God knows what kind of money via the dole of the American taxpayer, the world burns. Not just in Iraq with his second bypassing of Congress and airstriking an independent sovereign nation. Remember, numero uno, number one was Libya and the indirect murder of Muammar Gaddafi, who was removing himself from the dollar standard, who was moving to the Iraqi dinar. And that was largely what many people believe the reason for the indirect assassination via the United States government. Of course, the president at the time, Barack Hussein Obama, invading that country and attacking that country without congressional approval. And now we're seeing the same thing in Iraq. President Obama must be really teed off. Hillary Rodham Clinton, his once loyal Secretary of State and his likeliest successor, has gone rogue, criticizing his foreign policy as too timid. And I find this very interesting. Hillary Rodham Hillary Clinton trying to distance herself from the president, trying to distance herself from the current administration and his warmongering. You know, that might be very difficult to do, considering Hillary Rodham Clinton was the Secretary of State under the Obama administration, who was responsible for Benghazi Gate and the death of Americans overseas, including Christopher Stevens. She was overseeing things during Eric Holder's Fast and Furious, the running of guns down to Mexico that resulted in the death of an American, and arguably countless others. And she's also a part of the same regime, the same anti-constitutional, anti-Congress congressional regime that makes up the Obama administration today, that has just bombed Iraq with the second anti-constitutional invasion of an independent sovereign nation. You see how you were just fed bullshit, America? You see how it was all bullshit? The President of the United States that he pitched to you in 2008 on hope and change. You see how that was all BS? That was just a PR campaign, because he's no different from Bush. The difference being that Bush actually went and got congressional approval with the Iraq War Resolution in 2002 before he invaded Iraq. Not this president, not this dictator and thief that makes up insane in the membrane, President Barack Obama. Again, this is an opinion from the Washington Post from Dana Milbank. Obama vacations as the world burns. And it couldn't be more true. You know, not only do we have this war in Iraq with the President of the United States pressing the red hot button and airstriking twice in recent days over the weekend. You notice how they do this all over the weekends. They always do it on a Friday. You know, that way Americans aren't really paying attention. Then they'll blow up a story like the suicide of Robin Williams and his tragic death, we'll get to in a moment. But not only do we have Iraq, we also have this conflagration in Gaza. So the world legitimately, and Dana Milbank of the Washington Post is 110% correct, the world literally burns. I mean, that's not even an exaggeration. That is the absolute truth, and that is the reality of the situation. And the President of the United States largely responsible for it. Again, the only person pressing the red button in Iraq is the President and the Commander-in-Chief, Barack Insane in the membrane, Barack Obama. Now, what people forget is how ISIS rose to power in the Middle East, how ISIS gained steam in Iraq. Of course, all of this is a byproduct of the intervention, arguably, and or the lack of intervention in Syria, with Barack Obama and his push to arm insurgents on the ground to topple, at least to attempt to topple, the Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria. And that failure, I would argue intentional failure, to spur and spawn the growth of ISIS. And nobody's arguing that they're not a legitimately violent terrorist organization. But the Obama administration responsible for catalyzing that movement, for catalyzing the caliphate that now makes up Iraq and Syria in the Middle East. That's the truth. And again, all of this has come to light. All of this has come to fruition since, even though I got tons of criticism at the time, with the Obama administration pointing a finger at the chemical warfare and the chemical attacks in Ghouta, accusing Bashar al-Assad of the attacks, only to find out later. Of course, the mainstream media does a case closed on it. You'll never really hear from it, although the proof and the evidence is there. I've done countless videos on it with independent UN investigators and investigations being done by third parties, including UN member Carla Del Ponte, pointing a finger not at the Bashar al-Assad regime for the deadly Ghouta chemical attacks that killed men, women, and children, but in actuality, the Obama-led, armed, backed, and funded terrorists on the ground. Yeah, that's right. Hillary Clinton also responsible for that. Again, it wasn't just Benghazi Gate. It wasn't just the illegal targeting of conservative groups. It wasn't scandal after scandal that we've heard so much about. It has also been Syria and what has now grown into a much greater conflict and war in Syria. Now we have Iraq and Syria together, even more deadly and violent than it was before. The President of the United States withdrawing 2 years ago, patting himself on the back as his administration's greatest accomplishment, only to airstrike and re-attack the same country in 2008, and during his re-election he campaigned on, was his antithesis to the George W. Bush administration. Remember, he ran on a campaign that was anti-Bush. He ran on a campaign that was anti-war, more specifically anti-Iraq, only to re-engage Iraq 2 years later. Absolutely unbelievable, folks. Robin Williams, of course, died just a few days ago, and the ruling on the death was suicide due to hanging. And I did a very controversial video earlier this morning titled "The Truth About Robin Williams' Suicide." And not to take away anything from Robin Williams, this great lightning rod comedic actor that he was, all the countless movies that he did and the impressions that he left or made on Americans and people at large all around the world for that moment, but needed to point out, somebody had to do it, and I had to do it, point out that people pretend to really care about this individual when they really don't. Again, this is just the bullshit society that makes up America today, really what George Carlin used to say, just kind of a global and American-centric circle jerk. You know, everyone's stroking each other off from both sides, pretending to care about Robin Williams. Well, they don't really give a shit. As I pointed out about Robin Williams, if you really care about him, if you really, really care about Robin Williams, then I want to see the news cycle actually run reruns on CNN and TMZ and the mainstream media for more than 24 to 48 hours. I want them to run reruns for 30 days straight, 30 days and 30 nights in tribute to Robin Williams. I want to see all of you that say you really care wear a black veil over your face, and not to speak, to be the ghost of Robin Williams' past for the next 30 days and 30 nights to prove your allegiance and you're really, really caring for this individual you didn't know. Again, the only people that legitimately knew or legitimately mourning the death of Robin Williams, and it is a tragic occurrence, in my opinion, is the family members and friends directly connected with a direct relationship to that actor. Again, to most Americans and to most people, that's all he was, an actor. You know, we need to ask what drove a man and what can drive people, countless teens and Americans today, men, women, some children, to suicide. What would drive somebody to do such a thing? And maybe Robin Williams, as I pointed out in the video, was making a statement of sorts.